The alarm screamed at 5:47 a.m., and before your feet even touched the cold floor, your chest was already tight. 23 things. That's what your phone said when you squinted at the screen, the glow cutting through the dark like an accusation. 23 tasks, calls, deadlines, expectations, and that was just what someone else decided you needed to handle today. You hadn't even added your own burdens yet. The ones nobody texts you about. The ones that live in your bones. You swung your legs over the side of the bed, and for a moment, you just sat there. Staring at nothing. Breathing shallow. Already exhausted, and the day hadn't even started. Friend, I know that feeling. I know what it's like to wake up with a soul that feels like it's been running all night. Like someone unplugged you while you were sleeping and forgot to plug you back in. You opened your eyes, but your spirit is still somewhere in the dark, searching for a reason to get up that isn't just another item on a list that never ends. And here's the thing nobody tells you at 5:47 a.m. You are not broken because you're tired. You're not failing because you're worn thin. You're not weak because the thought of facing another day makes your stomach clench. You're human. And humans were never designed to carry this much weight alone. But I want you to picture something right now, in this quiet moment before the world starts demanding pieces of you. Picture the room you're sitting in. The mess on the nightstand. The clothes draped over the chair you swore you'd hang up 3 days ago. A half-empty glass of water. The way the first thin light of morning is barely pushing through the curtains, like it's asking permission to enter. Now picture something else. There is someone standing right beside you in that cluttered room. Not a concept. Not a theological idea wrapped in Sunday language. A presence. Real. Close. Close enough that if you were paying attention, you might feel the air shift. He sees the tears you haven't cried yet. The ones you swallowed at 2 a.m. when sleep wouldn't come and the ceiling became a screen where your worst fears played on repeat. He heard the prayers you didn't have words for, the ones that just sounded like a long exhale and a silent scream trapped somewhere between your throat and your heart. This is not the distant God of stained glass and formal hymns. This is the shepherd who leaves the 99 to find the one who's too exhausted to even bleat for help. This is the Father who doesn't wait for you to clean yourself up before he walks through the door. He's already in the room. He's been there all night. And right now, in this moment, he's not asking you for a theological statement. He's not handing you a checklist. He's gently, quietly, placing his hand on your shoulder. Can you feel that? Not with your emotions, those might be too fried to register anything right now. But deeper. In that place inside you that still remembers what peace used to feel like. The place that hasn't completely forgotten that you were created for something more than endless striving. The morning wasn't meant to start with pressure. It was meant to start with presence. But somewhere along the way, you learned a different rhythm. You learned that if you don't hold it all together, everything falls apart. You learned that being responsible means being in control. You learned that asking for help is a sign of weakness, and stopping to breathe is a luxury you can't afford because there's too much at stake and too many people depending on you, and if you drop even one ball, the whole performance collapses. So you became the strong one. The reliable one. The one who handles it. The one who smiles at the meeting and cries in the car afterward. The one who answers "I'm fine" when your soul is screaming something entirely different. And now you're sitting on the edge of your bed at 5:47 a.m., and the weight of being that person is crushing your chest, and you're wondering how much longer you can keep this up before something inside you just stops. Here is the truth that might save your life today, not dramatically, not with flashing lights and instant miracles, but quietly, like a seed being planted in soil that hasn't seen rain in a long time. You were not created to live in a state of constant depletion. Read that again. Let it sit in the room with you for a moment. You were not created to run on empty, to white-knuckle your way through every day, to treat exhaustion like a badge of honor and burnout like a necessary sacrifice. Faith was never supposed to be a marathon with no finish line, where you just keep running until your legs give out and you collapse in a heap of spiritual failure. That is not the life Jesus called you to. That is not the abundant life He promised. That is not the easy yoke and light burden He spoke about. But somewhere, somehow, the message got twisted. You absorbed the lie that your worth is measured by your output. That God's favor is proportional to your productivity. That if you're not constantly doing, achieving, maintaining, and perfecting, you're somehow letting heaven down. And so you wake up every morning already behind. Already guilty. Already bracing for the demands that will strip another layer off your soul before noon. But look again at that figure standing beside you in the gray morning light. Look at his face. He's not disappointed. He's not tapping his watch, reminding you of all the things you haven't accomplished yet. He's not comparing you to some idealized version of yourself that you've never actually been. He's looking at you the way a father looks at his child who fell asleep at the kitchen table while doing homework that was too hard for their age. With compassion. With tenderness. With a love that aches because he knows you were never meant to carry this alone. The coffee is brewing in the kitchen. The notifications are piling up. The world is about to start shouting at you in 17 different directions. The 23rd Psalm isn't a reward for the righteous. It's an emergency room for the exhausted. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Look at the verbs. He makes me lie down. He leads me. He restores me. Who's doing the heavy lifting here? Not the sheep. The shepherd. You've been operating under a theological gaslight that says you have to get your act together before God will show up. But Psalm 23 doesn't start with the sheep performing. It starts with the shepherd acting. Green pastures and still waters aren't a promotion you earn after 20 years of flawless faith. They're the intervention God stages when you're running on fumes and too stubborn to admit you're dying inside. The Hebrew word for restore here is shav. It means to turn back, to return something to its original state. God is essentially hitting the factory reset button on your soul, not because you deserve it, but because you can't survive without it. He doesn't wait until you've solved your problems to offer you rest. He comes into the middle of your chaos. And then the shame crept in like it always does. What kind of Christian can't even pray for 5 minutes without getting distracted? Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe God's tired of hearing from someone who only shows up when life is falling apart. Maybe I'm just a bad believer. Your distraction isn't proof of spiritual failure. It's proof that you're carrying a load that was never designed for human shoulders. The fact that your mind wanders to bills and meetings and unresolved conflict doesn't make you faithless, it makes you honest. You're bringing your actual life to God instead of a sanitized, pretend version of it. And the Psalms are full of people doing exactly that, crying out about enemies, questioning God's timing, admitting they feel abandoned. David didn't edit his prayers for theological accuracy before he spoke them. He just showed up. So here's the turning point. The truth that might shift something deep in your chest if you let it. Exodus 33. Moses is leading a nation of former slaves through a wilderness, and the weight of it is crushing him. He's exhausted, uncertain, surrounded by complaints and chaos. And God doesn't give him a 5-step plan for better leadership or a strategy session on resource management. He gives him a promise. My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Not I will remove every obstacle. Not I will make the Egyptians apologize. Not I will turn the desert into a resort. My presence. And rest. That word rest in the original Hebrew is nuch. It doesn't mean vacation. It doesn't mean escape. It means to settle down, to dwell, to be placed somewhere secure. God is essentially saying, you're going to keep walking through this wilderness, but you're not going to do it alone, and you're not going to do it in your own strength. Biblical rest isn't about running away from responsibility. It's about walking into your responsibility with a different power source. It's the difference between paddling a boat with your own arms until they give out, and finally realizing there's a sail and the wind is already blowing. You've been paddling for years. Decades, maybe. Your shoulders are shot. Your back is wrecked. Your soul is gasping. And now, right now, something is starting to shift. Your hands, which were clenched into fists without you even noticing, are beginning to uncurl. That tension you've been holding in your jaw since the Bush administration? It's loosening. You exhale, and it's not just air leaving your lungs. It's the breath you've been holding since the last time you allowed yourself to believe things might actually be okay. Do you remember what trust felt like before you learned that people disappoint and systems fail and sometimes prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling? There was a version of you once, maybe when you were 7 years old, lying in the grass on a summer afternoon, watching clouds drift across a blue sky, not worried about anything except whether you'd be called inside for dinner before you were ready. You didn't have a 5-year plan. You didn't have a mortgage. You didn't have a list of 23 things screaming at you from a screen. You just were, and it was enough, and you trusted that the world would hold you because you hadn't yet learned that it sometimes doesn't. That child isn't gone. They're buried under layers of adult responsibility and accumulated disappointment, but they're still there. And God hasn't forgotten how to reach them. Isaiah 40 drops a promise that lands like a defibrillator on a flatlining heart. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint. But here's what you need to understand about the word wait. The Hebrew word is kava, and it doesn't mean sitting in a waiting room scrolling through old magazines until God finally calls your number. It means to bind together, to twist, to stretch. It's the same word used for making rope. Waiting on God isn't passive resignation, it's actively tying yourself to something stronger than you so that when the storm hits, you're not blown away. Kava is what a ship does when it drops anchor in deep water. The anchor doesn't make the storm stop. The waves still crash. The wind still howls. But the ship holds because it's connected to something immovable. Your circumstances might not change tonight. Your problems might still be on your phone tomorrow morning. But you can be anchored through all of it. And right now, you're being invited to do something that might feel terrifying and liberating in equal measure. Place your hand on your chest. Right now. Wherever you are, on your bed, in your car, at your kitchen table with cold coffee and a pile of unopened mail. Put your hand right over your heart and feel it beating. That heartbeat you're feeling right now, the one beneath your palm, steady and stubborn against all odds, it's proof that God hasn't given up on you. Your lungs are still pulling air. Your blood is still moving. Your soul, even the exhausted parts of it, is still reaching. And here's the thing about reaching. God has been reaching back this whole time. This is what the psalmist meant when he wrote, "Be still, and know that I am God." Not be still and figure everything out. Not be still and solve your problems. Not be still and craft a perfect plan for the 23 things waiting for you. Just be still and know. That's it. That's the whole assignment. And knowing doesn't mean understanding every reason or having every answer. It means anchoring yourself to the character of the one who holds you. It means trusting that the God who didn't let you die in your sleep last night has purpose for your waking today. Father, I come before you with all the exhaustion of this morning. I didn't sleep well, or maybe I slept but woke up already tired. My mind is already running through the list, the deadlines, the difficult conversation, the decision I've been avoiding, the person I need to forgive but don't know how. I'm showing up before you right now with nothing but this: I need you. I'm not asking for a magic fix. I'm not asking you to make all 23 things disappear, though honestly, Father, if you wanted to handle a few of them directly, I wouldn't complain. But what I'm really asking for is your presence. Your peace. The kind that doesn't make sense on paper but settles something deep inside me anyway. So right now, in the name of Jesus, I reject the lie that I am not enough. I reject the lie that today will defeat me. I reject the lie that my mistakes define me. I reject the lie that you have abandoned me or that my prayers are bouncing off the ceiling. Your word says that when I draw near to you, you draw near to me. So here I am, Father. Drawing near. Not with perfect faith. Not with all my questions answered. Not with a clean, tidy, Instagram-worthy spiritual life. Just me. Tired, overwhelmed, slightly sarcastic me. And I'm trusting that's enough for you. Give me strength for my body. I'm running on fumes, and you know it. Renew what exhaustion has depleted. Give me clarity for my decisions. I've been going back and forth in my mind, and I need your wisdom to cut through the noise. Give me grace for the people I'll encounter today, especially the difficult ones. Help me see them the way you see them. Help me respond instead of react. And Father, let me not just survive today. Let me walk through it with something that doesn't come from caffeine or willpower or pretending. Let me walk through it with your quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything, doesn't need to impress anyone, doesn't need to control everything. The kind that rests even while moving. Now I want you to speak these words out loud. Not just read them in your head. I mean actually say them. Your voice carries authority, and there's something that shifts in the spiritual realm when you declare truth with your mouth. Say this with me. I receive God's peace right now. I will not be shaken by the pressures of today. I have enough strength from God for everything He has placed before me. My mind is guarded in a peace that surpasses all understanding. I rest in His presence, and I will walk in quiet strength today. That last line, quiet strength, that's not weakness. That's not passivity. That's the kind of strength Jesus had when He stood before Pilate and didn't say a word. That's the kind of strength that doesn't need to defend itself because it knows who holds the final verdict. That's the strength available to you right now. So here's what I want you to do. This is a prophetic act, a physical action that seals a spiritual decision. In the comments below, write these words: I receive God's peace. I rest in His presence, and I will walk in quiet strength today. Don't just think it. Type it. Let your fingers confirm what your spirit is choosing. And while you're at it, like this video and subscribe. Not because I'm trying to build an empire, but because tomorrow morning, when the alarm screams again and your chest gets tight and your phone starts demanding your attention, you're going to need this reminder again. You're going to need to come back to this moment and remember that you made a decision today. You chose presence over pressure. You chose trust over control. You chose quiet strength over anxious striving. I'm not going to promise you that all 23 things on your list will work out perfectly today. I'm not going to promise that your problems will vanish or that the person you're dreading will suddenly become delightful. That's not how this works, and you know it. But here's what I will promise you, not because I have any power of my own, but because God's word is true and His character is unchanging. God is present with you right now. He is faithful, even when you are faithless. He is still working, even when you can't see the results. And His presence is enough for everything waiting for you outside that door. May the peace of God cover you like morning sunlight, gentle at first, then growing warmer and stronger with every passing hour. May His wisdom guide every step you take, every word you speak, every decision you make. May His patience and gentleness flow through you to everyone you encounter today, especially the ones who don't deserve it. And may you remember, in the chaos and the noise and the pressure, that you are never alone. The one who promised to be with you always, even to the end of the age, is holding you in the palm of His hand. This morning didn't begin with pressure. It began with presence. And that presence is enough for everything that lies ahead. Amen. Now go walk in His quiet strength.